Welcome to Charge to the Game podcast. I'm your host, Terrence Lawton. I have my special guest right here. This is my very first episode, and I want to go around Mississippi. Basically, I started podcast to go around, travel around Mississippi, to help everybody, get their story heard and tell their story. Everybody has a story that they want the world to know that they're afraid to tell. So, we trying to, bring something new to Mississippi and do that. So if you have a story, please contact me.
My name is Datodrick Pinkston. I'm the head coach here at Forest High School. This is my 8th year here in Forest. I'm from Forest, Mississippi, homegrown here, and played in this exact same gym that we in now. And so that's kind of a blessing. I appreciate him for inviting me on this podcast. And I'm going to dive into my story when we get a chance to, and hopefully inspire not only our young people, but older people out there that don't know my story and just think that it just happened overnight and the success just came overnight. And it didn't work like that. So I had a lot of roadblocks and a lot of loopholes I had to get through to get to where I am now.
I'm truly thankful to have Coach on my podcast. Like I said, once again, this is my very first podcast. Guys, first topic we have for you guys, we're going to discuss, his childhood, let him share everything that y'all guys may want to know or anything that he wants to share with us about his childhood, so we can dive into that.
Imagine a 6-month-old child being raised by his grandmother. And imagine the grandmother have to tell that 6-month-old as he get older that his mom passed. So at 6 months old, my mom passed in a car accident. My dad wasn't too much around. He was in and out here and there. And during that process of the car wreck, my mom passed, my aunt passed, and I had an older brother that passed in that incident. And also I have a sister and a cousin that survived the car crash. So at 6 months old, I lost pretty much mom. And at that point, growing up, my grandma was my mom, and that was kind of like the woman who raised me from 6 months to who I am now. So it was kind of difficult growing up. I grew up in a household with 6 girls. There was 6 girls, and I was the only boy in the house. So that's kind of a test to my grandmother. She had her own kids to raise, and she also raised 6 grandkids in that process. And that's very difficult to do for anybody, especially a woman who has one job and has her own kids and has to tend to, grandkids. And that's a test how strong she is as a woman to lose a daughter, 2 daughters, and also another grandchild in a car accident. And so growing up with 6 girls in a house, being the only boy, you know how that works. Living together and not having your own room. I don't think I ever had my own room until I was about 15 years old. And my bedroom was actually the dining room in a 4-bedroom trailer. And so my grandma actually bought me a bed and kind of put it in the dining room, and I just had a bed, no room. So it helped me appreciate a lot of things that I do have now by living with my grandmother, being the only guy. And I had 2 chores in the house. That was the garbage and the yard work. So that's the only 2 responsibilities that I had in the house growing up was that. And kind of having her helped me understand that, like, as women are very, very strong. And also it helped me as I got older to realize that, like, if this woman can raise 6 grandkids and her own kids, then I shouldn't have an excuse to get to the point to where I'm successful as well. So that's kind of like growing up in that environment helped me out a lot. And it also helped me out with, she taught me responsibilities, she taught me discipline, she taught me character and things like that. So it was kind of rough not having a mom and then not having a dad. But she kind of just filled that role of everything that I needed. And I was a baby. Like I said, I was 6 months old. And like I said, it's hard to imagine how she felt in that moment of, I got this 6-month-old child. I could have been foster home. I could have been anywhere. She could have just let me go with my dad. But she just decided, look, I'm going to take these 6 grandkids and I'm going to raise them myself. So that's an attest to how strong she is as a woman. So So my childhood starting off in the early stages was pretty much like that. So like anybody asks me a question about my mom, a lot of people think I get offended. And I'm like, I can't get offended to something that I don't feel. I'm 6 months old. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
You know, it wasn't until I got of age to really understand what happened to my mom. So my grandma was always mom. You know, until I got old enough to realize that that's not my actual mom, but she took me in as my mom. So then going into my teenage years, it was kind of the same way. Still in the house, still in the dining room as my actual bedroom, living, sleeping there, things like that. I had an aunt to come along, Pinkston actually. She kind of took me in as her son as well. And I was with her my middle school days. So I was kind of surprised my grandma did let me go during that moment. So I know it's kind of hard to let a 6-month-old child go up to the age that he's in 7th, 8th grade to be like, I'm gonna hang to my daughter, which that's actually my grandma's daughter, LaWanda. So I was with her during my teenage days, and she had a son. She had one other son, and everybody think he's my brother. So because we grew up together, and everybody thought LaWanda was my mom because she raised me from the age when I was a teenager.
You want to mention her child? Who was the child?
Latravius Pinkston. Trey Pinkston is her son that she had at the time. So everybody got confused, like, oh man, Trey's your brother, LaWanda's your mom, LaWanda's my aunt, but she stepped in the role as being my mom. So I really do appreciate her for that, because she didn't have to do that as her own son. And that was actually, even then when I moved with her, it was crazy. I still didn't have my own room. She had a 2-bedroom trailer, and me and Trey actually shared a room with each other.
Right.
So still, I'm thinking I'm moving out my grandma's house, like, man, yes, I'm out the dining room.
Man,
I got my own room, and boom.
Got my own space.
Oh man, we ain't bumped there. So that thought process came across my head, but Trey grew on to me like a younger brother, and he's been kind of watching me and looking up to me to a certain extent, and I really like my aunt during those times, man. Those were like the roughest patch of my life. The reason being because I was old enough to understand that my mom is gone.
Right.
And how did it happen? I started questioning, asking questions about her, hey, what happened to my mom, and where was that location and things like that. But she kind of stepped in as that role, and always was there. Don't get me wrong, I never needed for anything as a kid. Even though I went through a phase with no room, none of that, I never needed anything. I was definitely well taken care of, always treated right. But during those times, I wanted to my aunt just put her arms around me and here.
That's a blessing.
And yeah, definitely. So my grandma became mom, and then one of her daughters, which is LaWanda, became mom. And then during those times, as we got older and grew older, she actually moved to a 3-bedroom. So during this time, it was still me and Trey. So at that point, I'm like, oh yeah, I got my own room. So had my own room at the time. Then come to find out she has another son. He comes along, and I'm like, man, I gotta go back to sharing a room. And but sharing a room actually taught me to kind of interact with people that look, you sharing is caring,
Right. It
so
is.
You have to share with your family and siblings, and I'm definitely a family guy. I love my family. Do everything that is asked. So very supportive. Very supportive.
Oh yeah.
And the first thing that they really came supportive of. It's funny because we hear Pinkston, everybody think of my Uncle Ty who played in the NFL, and it's like football. So the thing that I got to is I told my grandma and my aunt, when I get to high school, I'm not playing football. I'm gonna be different.
You wanna be different? Yeah, I got you.
I don't want y'all to put me in that category every time. I'm gonna stick to basketball. And so when I told them that, they was like, that's fine, son. That's do what you do. And so that's kind of when my life started changing big time when that happened, because of the simple fact of they let me make my own decision. And also I had a godmother, Miss Constance Slaughter. She's an attorney. She was the first African American female to graduate from law school at Ole Miss, and she's definitely played a big part of my life as well. So when she figured out my mom died, she was close to the family,
Right.
and she just came in and just, look, I'm your godmother. And she taught me a lot about hard work and discipline, as well as my family as well, but just dedicated. And a funny story, and I tell her this all the time, she made me realize like how to work smarter. So we had, I used to cut her yards. She had a library that she owned, and she had her own personal yard. So I had to cut the library yard, cut it. I pushed the mower from Jones Street apartment, which is a long way, everybody knows what that is in Forest, all the way across to where she lived, which is across Highway 80, right there beside the Ruben Ruber's house, who lived there. And that whole day I cut 2 yards, and she paid me $25. And that was like, and I pushed the mower from her house, well, from her office to the house, man. And I was like, well, I got $25. And during that moment, she said it's really not about the money. It was about seeing what would you do when you feel like you're getting paid less than what you actually supposed to.
It's a life lesson.
Life lesson. So during that moment, she taught me a lot of life lessons. I actually worked for her. She actually was the first person that gave me a job at her law office, which is located in Jones Street. Well, the library was located in Jones Street, on Jones Street. So she gave me my first job making minimum wages. And so she taught me a lot about work, as well as my grandma, cutting yard and things like that.
What did you have to do in the library, if you don't mind me asking?
Just organizing things, moving things, and like I said, cutting grass, weeding, anything that needed to be done.
Right.
She had me doing, and I never complained. Once she taught me the value of how to work and how to manage and make your own money, I never complained. I never quit the job or anything like that.
Right.
Which is difficult for like kids nowadays, man. I used to cut grass for my grandma's house. I didn't get paid a dime. I lived there. So my grandma looked at me, I'm not paying you to do something that you're supposed to do.
Right. Yeah. It's your responsibility.
So that's my responsibility. I'm not paying you to cut grass. This is you live here, you're gonna cut this grass.
Right.
And guess what I had to do? I had to cut this grass. So they did a lot of things, and also some tactics, like we used to go outside. I was an outside kid. I never really being inside. So I used to hang with older people.
Right.
And so we used to play a lot of basketball, football. I did against older people, and they kind of made me tough. A lot of my cousins and my friends, just pushed me down, roughed me up. So one day I came in the house just crying, like, young age. Grandma, they done did this, and they did that. And I never forget, she told me, if you ever come back in here crying like that, you're gonna stay in the house. It taught me so much about you can't always get your way.
Right, you can't.
Things are not always gonna go your way. It's really about how you respond to things.
Right.
And so I definitely wanted to give a shout out to LaWanda, Miss Constance, my grandmother, who started the discipline era as well, especially in my younger days.
Can you tell the people about your high school life and everything dealing with high school?
Oh yeah, it's coming into high school, man. I was a quiet kid. Never really got in trouble. Couldn't get in trouble. Granddad worked at the school, so that was number one, man. So I really couldn't get in trouble. But I was raised at home to understand, like, don't get in trouble. You're a reflection of not yourself, but you're a reflection of your family and your loved ones, and the one that kind of raised you. So that's another reason I couldn't get in trouble, and I wasn't gonna get in trouble because I was raised that way. So I knew I had to be a reflection of that. But in school, I was real quiet. Didn't have many friends. Had a few friends. Didn't hang with the cool guys or the guys, didn't want to be that type of guy. So if you were to sum it all up, I was like, people call lame and the quiet type. I was labeled the quiet type. Didn't really want to do too much. And so with me being quiet, I really was like more observant of people. Okay, I don't need to do that. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. So I think that helped out a lot, because now I got more respect from those guys that was, higher up in the class and things like that. So I earned that respect by being that guy that was always quiet and never really got in trouble. So entering my high school career, like I said, I was a basketball only guy in high school. And ninth grade, 9th, 10th grade years were kind of my two roughest years, because like I said, I didn't play football. So before football came in, we played basketball games. And I averaged about 14 to 16 points, from freshman and sophomore year roughly. And so everybody come back in the gym, and it's like I go, especially my sophomore year, I go from the the starter averaging 14 to 16 to 6, 7, 8, 9. I go to the end of the bench.
No playing time.
No playing time. Maybe here and there. They got better as the season went on. But during those times, those were a lot of rough times for me, especially that sophomore year. Reason being, because my granddad was the coach, so not a lot of people can play for family members. You got a lot of expectations, a lot of chirping about, oh, he shouldn't be playing this and that. So that sophomore year was tough because my grandma and granddad they was divorced during that time. And a lot of times he wanted me to come live with him. He used to always say, hey man, it's too many girls over there. Like I said the story ahead of time, it's a girl in the house and one boy. It's like, man, telling my grandma, it's too many girls over there. He need to come be
with a man,
this and that. And I never wanted to go. And so that kind of, I felt myself, that kind of played a part in me not playing. Now, it may have did. I can't say it didn't.
Right.
But at that time, me being young and a kid, I felt like, hey, man, you're not playing because of
what's going on in the situation. Right.
Between grandma and grandpa and not the other. So I really felt hit by that. And so at the end of that season, he broke it down to me. I was getting ready to transfer out. During that time, my uncle Ty was staying and he was living in Hattiesburg. So I shoot him a text, hey man, I want to come move with you. I want to transfer and go to Oak Grove. That was in my mindset going into my junior year. And so getting ready to, call it quits because I felt like, a certain type of way.
Right.
And so during that time, my uncle was like, no, man, you just need to stick it out and work hard and stuff like that. And I think that taught me a valuable lesson as well. When it gets rough, that don't mean you just quit.
Right.
So with that being said, my granddad also, we had our conversation. And I was like, man, what's going on? What's the deal? It's like, man, hey son, you gotta wait your turn.
Right.
And so that was by the end of my sophomore year. He did tell me that. So that whole summer, I worked. I got in the gym, got better. And it just, I kind of just took off that junior year, man. It was crazy. Averaged about 14 to 16 points a game. And not only that, that's the year that we won a state championship.
Yeah.
So, which is crazy. So how I played out was, like I said, he told me to wait my turn, and that's what I did.
Right.
But I took that as motivation and fuel after I really figured out, look, I just can't quit just because it's hard. A lot of people now just up and, I'm done, I don't want to play.
They want to give up.
They want to give up. And so I kind of had to think about it and look at myself as well. So with that being said, we did win the state championship that year. And which was crazy because I think about the term, wait your turn. And when I did wait my turn, I'm like, look what happened. We win the state championship.
Yeah, if you would have moved, y'all would have not.
We probably wouldn't have happened.
You won that game.
Yeah.
You won that game.
All right, Forrest needs a point in the worst way. 2 would be nice. Pinkston down the middle.
Wow.
Whoa.
Both of these teams have so many playmakers, and they have stepped up. This is what you call championship basketball.
14 seconds. Let's look at it. Come right at you. Here's the drive. Pinkston right down the middle. That's big.
He say that because my granddad was the coach of that team, 2010. I played for my granddad. I played with my uncle, who was Josh Pinkston, that's his name, and Roy, my grandpa, was his grandson. So the game went sort of like this. Granddad was a coach, won the state championship.
That's 1.
Uncle Josh was the MVP.
That's 2.
Of the state championship game. 3, I made the game-winning basket, the go-ahead basket, to win the state championship.
3 Pinkstons.
So it's nothing but God when that happened, man. I don't think that was by mistake, but it all planned out. Coach, granddad, he got a son who's the MVP. He got a grandson who makes the game.
Which one to get right?
Which won the game, which won the championship in 2010, which he had already won prior in 2007. So he do have the only 2 boys state championship here. Roy Pinkston, my granddad, legendary coach here, the only coach to win a boys championship here. So he taught me a real valuable lesson that day. And also my assistant coach during that time, Sheldon Thomas, Coach Thomas, everybody know him as Reverend Sheldon Thomas. So he was my assistant. So we're in the huddle, and he comes to me in the huddle. He looks at me and says, son, that's what I want you to do. I want you to take this ball. I want you to take it to the rack, and I don't want nobody to stop you.
Nobody.
You go win this game for us. You bring us home. And during that moment, that's when I turned around and thought about my granddad and said, wait your turn. So during that time, that whole season I was playing, starting, second league scorer and all. During that time, I really felt that moment when he said, wait your turn. And so when my turn, my opportunity came, I took advantage of it. You know, by winning the state championship.
You achieved it.
By scoring the game-winning layup. So that term, wait your turn, that kind of stuck with me when my granddaddy told me that. And I think that was a valuable lesson that carried over, not only then, but also like later on in college. So we ended up winning the state championship my junior year with all that happening. Then the next year we went back. We actually lost in the semifinals game before the championship. But after I graduated, it was like my mind said, well, after the end of that season, I was like, man, the 2 years I started, we get to the Coliseum, we get to Jackson. And I'm like, to myself, just imagine what would it have been like if I had played that 10th grade year that I felt like I should have been playing. How would that be? So it's just crazy how my mind kind of thought. But the turn that he said, wait your turn, man, that kind of dawned on me a lot. And it also helped me get to that moment, man. That was a big turning point moment. Not only like in my life, just for my family as well, because people don't understand that year it was a lot of pressure on him as a coach,
right,
on me as a player, on his son Josh as a player, because that's both our first year starting together.
Right.
He's the coach. So you know how it is when like you got a coach and he got a grandson and son playing
for him, right.
Fans like, oh, he playing him only because
that's family.
That's family. Boom, boom.
Right.
So we had to live up to that, man. And I think the only way to silence people from saying that was to go do what we did. Win the state championship. Him as the coach, my uncle Josh that played with me as the MVP of the game, and me winning the game for our team as the game-winning basket. So I think that was the only thing to shut the doubters up and the critics. Well, people saying, oh, he's only playing it because of this. No, we actually had to work and grind and get to that point.
And y'all did just that.
We had a lot on our shoulders. Like, we had to play not only for our granddad, we had to show these people, like, we're supposed to be out there.
We deserve this. We deserve
this. So, topping off my senior year, coming out, East Central actually had me on scholarship. I was locked down. They had like a little lock thing. Then like high school, they locked some of the top players in the county. And Coach Brewer was the coach at that time, man. I really appreciate Coach Brewer for like giving me that opportunity to even, attend East Central. And he seen the talent, he said he watched me as a kid. So I really appreciate him for that opportunity. So I knew if not anywhere else, I was down in on East Central, but I couldn't go no to JUCO for that reason, how stuff was set up. And I kind of told myself, there's nothing wrong with East Central, nothing at all.
No, it's not.
I just felt my own personal self was too close for home.
You wanted something different.
And a lot of people I've seen, like before me going there, and I'm like, I don't want to see kind of the same people. I'm not saying you would have, but that was just my mindset as a freshman coming out of high school. So I was like, man, I'm gonna just go. During that time, that was the only offer I had, and I think it was a military school in Alabama. I can't really remember the name at this moment. But so I was like, let me go to the trials, man. And nobody really have seen me play, so I'm gonna go get it. So that was my mindset. I was like, I worked for a championship. My mindset, I gotta get it.
So just imagine if y'all would have had. I don't mean that y'all would, but just imagine if y'all would have had social media back then.
Oh yeah, social media. If we had social media, Twitter and TikTok and use Facebook, man, Instagram, man, it would have been definitely crazy. My granddad was sort of old school. He didn't have cell phones, so he had house phones. So I had to kind of like, I made my own highlight tape. That's crazy part about coming out of high school. Made my own highlight tape. I ended up being 2-time All-State. Wow. 2-time South State. All South State. They had South State back then, and 2-time All District. So I had the accolades, I had the championship, had the numbers, just didn't have the exposure.
The exposure,
that I feel
right.
that I feel like I was supposed to have. But it all worked out, so I started sending highlight tapes to all these different, schools and stuff like that. That wasn't JUCO because I couldn't go to no other JUCO.
Because of that
Yeah,
EC
because of that
situation.
reason. So Belhaven ended up calling me at Mississippi College. My first visit was Mississippi College. Coach Lofton was there, longtime coach. He's retired now, but he offered me. They were Division III at the time. So if you're not familiar with Division III, they don't give out athletic scholarships.
Right.
They're Division II now, but during that time they was Division III, so athletic scholarships weren't really around till they went. So the next day I went to Belhaven. So I went there, had a good tryout, man, and the coach was like, man, I like him. So what kind of drew his attention, me as a freshman, I'm 6 feet, little flimsy body or whatever, but I had to think about how I can be different, like the term that I use, I want to be different and go to basketball. So we get there, I was like, man, how can I do something to really get this coach to like offer me? So a senior guard there that was graduating, I guarded him the whole scrimmage and did pretty decent guarding. So one time I ended up getting a steal, and I'm thinking to myself, I gotta do something.
He finna go dunk it.
And dunked it. So I look at the coach, how he young. I'm
Yeah,
looking
you
at
gotta-
the coach side of my eye. He's talking to my granddad, and he kind of like, it caught him off guard. And after tryout, he offered me that day, but in my mindset, I knew, I was like, man, I have to do something different.
Something
man.
different, right.
And that's the thing I try now to get kids to understand. You have to do something different than what the normal people
Right,
do.
right,
It's
right.
a lot of kids in the world that want to just score the basketball.
Right.
You got to do something different. And at that time, I was a 6-foot guard that played above the rim, and pretty athletic.
Very
so
athletic.
it's like touching the top of the square up there. Like you rarely had seen that during that time. And that kind of caught his eye too. And also playing, I played AU ball with the Jackson Tigers, which was one of the top teams, one of the top 10 AU teams in the state. And that helped me as well, playing against different guys from different schools, high classifications, man.
Right.
It brought out the best in me. So when I'm practicing against those guys, I know, hey, I'm bringing my A game.
You already play with the best.
I'm playing with the best. I mean, and then my mindset going to those practices, like, yeah, you may go to Provine, you may go to, you may go here, but I'm from Forest, man. I know how to get it out the mud. And so that was my mindset the whole time going through there. And doing that recruiting process, man, it's like you have to play the tug of war battle. I was playing the tug of war battle between Belhaven and Mississippi College. So when I went to Mississippi College, I told the coach, I said, look, I got a trip to Belhaven tomorrow. So Belhaven, MC called, was like, coach, he's like, Datodrick, what you think? Like, man, I don't know. I gotta see what Belhaven is gonna talk about. So I went to Belhaven, came back, talked to Mississippi College again, and the Belhaven coach called. Tired. They called me tired at the time. What are you gonna do, man? What are you gonna do? I don't know. So it's like,
yeah.
You have to do, you have to kind of do that because I had to understand that once I sign this paper,
Yeah, you pretty much there.
I'm there. I'm there. I'm basically getting.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I got to be there. You know what I mean? And I have to not only represent that school, but I have to represent the high school, that I came from. So the junior year was a huge year, man. That was like my come out year to like I'm coming out my shell, even though I'm still this quiet guy. But that dog,
But you gotta bring that dog up out of it. Yeah, that dog.
It started to kick in during
gotta
that
be
year,
in you.
man. You just gotta have it, man. And so that kind of came up out of me, and it started as a kid, just in the yard, older friends and older siblings and stuff like that. Well, not siblings, but older friends is roughing me up, pushing me. My uncles pushing me to a wall playing basketball. Grandma
Make you
telling me,
tough.
you better get up. Ain't no crying. We don't do no crying. So that made me tough. So I'm getting ready to make a decision. So I got Mississippi College, I got Belhaven, I got East Central. And so I go with my grandma during that time. I didn't ask my aunt, who I was living with. It's like, hey, grandma, where should I go to school? And this was definitely another defining moment of my life. She looked at me, she said, wherever you want to go. She said, that's not my decision, that's your decision. you have to go to school there. And so I knew then, man, she believed so much in what she's embedded in me from 6 months to year, that was my decision, you know. And like one thing about it, even during those times that I felt like my granddaddy was not playing me because of reasons that
Between them two,
she never said a word. My family never came at him in a disrespectful way, even when I was playing. Like, and even when I was playing, they never, like, I'm out on the court playing, they let him do his job.
they don't argue with him, don't fuss with him, anything.
And I think that's a lost art right now, to where when it comes to high school basketball, and parents have to understand, man, a kid can lose a scholarship because of your actions as a parent.
They can. You right.
You know, you can lose out on opportunities. You never know who's in these stands, man.
You never know who watching.
And so, and that's another thing my college coach didn't have to worry about, is like, damn, what my parents coming up, my grandma coming and asking him why I'm not playing, because they never did my granddad like that, who's from
Right.
my granddad. So I knew then when she told me that it's your decision, I kind of knew then. I was like, man, it's about to get where it need to be. So behavior kept calling, and I knew then when they was constantly calling me, I was like, this is where I need to be.
It's your calling.
This is my call.
That's
This is where I
home.
want to be. This is home to me, and which is, behavior's located in Jackson, Mississippi, and I knew then that was my time to go ahead and make that decision. And I did have my signing day, which was my grandma in the picture, my assistant coach, Reverend Thomas, Sheldon Thomas, and my grandpa and the head coach at Belhaven at that time. His name was Tom Kelsey, man. I appreciate Coach Tom Kelsey. He gave me an opportunity out of high school, a small 3A school as far as Mississippi, and that's just leading up from, that's my story from my 9th grade to my senior year, and I always remember those two things from my grandma and grandpa. Grandpa saying, wait your turn, and my grandma saying, hey, look, it's your decision, you do what you want to do.
She was gonna support you no matter what, whatever decision you made. She was 100% behind you.
East Central, whether it was Mississippi College, whether it was Belhaven.
I'm sure she was at every game.
Every single game.
So how was your college career? I know you decided to go to Belhaven. So how was that?
It was a struggle starting my first year, just because I had to adjust to a lot of things, shot clock and the speed of the game. Now, I had the athleticism to kind of cover up, but during my freshman year, I was the only freshman playing during that season, and it started at the end of the season. My first couple of games, I never got in and I didn't play, but then as the season progressed, I started just doing different small things in practice, like offensive rebounding, going to the glass, rebounding, putting it back. So I'm scoring, 4 to 6 points a game just by going to get an offensive rebound. So that kind of gave Coach Style like, look, oh man, he may be small, he may be 6 feet, but he has a niche. He has that dog to go get it, and he has that winning mentality. Like, I'm gonna do what it takes for my team.
For my team, right.
So once he figured that out my freshman year, he kind of just started playing me a little more, and so that was a pretty successful year sports-wise, but academically-wise, man, my first year I did pretty well, first semester. Now coming into that second semester, I did not do well.
It sounded like you didn't do well. I seen the positive look on your face.
And to be honest, it's the first time a lot of y'all gonna know this. I was almost close to flunking out of college. A lot of people know that. I was close. And it was at the end of my freshman year, I started, just lost focus of who I was. Rather being that quiet kid in high school that didn't try to fit in, I turned into that kid that wanted to fit in and go to parties and go to clubs and do these different types of things. Not no drugs or things like that, but just wanted to go out, party, don't do schoolwork, so at the end of my freshman year, I looked at my GPA, and honestly, I was below a 2.0. So academically, I was ineligible to play sports.
Right.
I was ineligible to play sports, and that's something I never told my family.
Yeah, After this interview drop, I know he's gonna have a lot of phone calls.
So my family, hey, just let it be. I did finish.
You see who he at now.
I'm here. But I finished my freshman year below a 2.0.
Wow.
It was literally below a 2.0. And so even during all that process, the coach that recruited me ended up leaving. He ended up taking a bigger job down at LSU. And so the assistant coach had kind of stepped in. And the crazy part is, me and the assistant coach never had a relationship during my freshman year.
Wow. So
His
fresh.
name is John Aiken. And Coach John Aiken, we never had any type of just relationship. It was he was just an assistant. I always spoke to my head coach. I had to respect him and things like that, but we just never had that relationship. So I'm like, man, I'm in a situation where I'm academically ineligible. I can't play right now, and I got this new coach that I don't have a relationship with.
Don't know nothing about you really.
So he comes to me. Like, they call me Todd at the time because they can't say my name. So they shorten it. They call me Todd. At Belhaven, my name is Todd. Point blank period. Todd. So he calls me like Todd. Right now you're academic. Like, yeah, I know. It's like, man, this is what I'm gonna do. You gotta take a summer class. So me, my freshman year, I'm thinking I'm finna come back home here.
Right.
And just, work and do this and that. So I took a soccer class, Theory of Coaching Soccer. That's the name of it. And the teacher was our soccer coach who had just previously won the NAIA National Championship. Belhaven ended up winning the NAIA National Championship that year. And literally I was taking a soccer class, a coaching soccer class after my freshman year.
Thought you was home. Thought you was going home. You about
I had man, that had to have been the most nervous thing I ever done. And then during that whole process of that happening in my head, I'm like, man, I'm really finna get sent back home. I really let my people down. I let my family down. I let my friends down. I let
get yourself down.
Myself down. The people that look up to me, I let them down. Because I wanted to fit in with everybody else rather than being myself.
Right.
That got me to this point. So that was a wake-up call from God saying, hey,
get it together, tighten up.
Get it together, or you could lose this, this, and this. And so I ended up taking that soccer class and ended up getting eligible. And that's the crazy part about it. The class lasted about 4 weeks. So during that time, you had to pay for that class. So I'm a college student with no job.
And you pay.
I gotta pay for this class at Belhaven. It's high expensive institution.
University.
And so during that time, I was working. I used to come over. Far as had a summer program where kids can come back and work and clean the schools and stuff like that, and wax the floors and all that. And so I was working that whole month of after those 4 weeks, the whole month of June and July. I gotta come up with like $2,000. I'm grinding. I'm getting $7.25 an hour during that time I'm working. So I gotta have this money in before August hit, or I can't enroll in classes.
That's crazy, man. How did you manage that?
Man, so I'm working.
I know you was head over heels.
I gotta make this money. And knowing during the school, getting paid when I was getting paid, I knew my first check. I'm getting $700 my first check. All right, month of June for the school. July, I get like $1,000.
Yeah.
Like, I'm short, man.
You need $300 more.
I need more money. So I was gonna go pay partial on it. So I was like, man, let me go pay partial on it. So I lived like the day we got paid. This is no lie. The day we got paid in June, the first month of June, I was like, let me go try to pay some on this, and then I figure I can't tell my family. I ain't asking them for money.
No, you can't tell them nothing.
Hey, what you need $2,000?
They gonna know.
I
can't
can't
explain.
say. I took a summer class because I don't feel it. I couldn't go back and say that. I couldn't go say that. So I get on campus, go to the office, our register office or whatever, and I was like, look, I'm here to pay my balance. And so what's your name? Give me your student ID. Gave me student ID. She's like, your balance have been paid. Now to this day, I don't know. It was a blessing. Somebody blessed me.
Somebody you don't know. You don't know who paid or nothing.
Don't know.
And you don't bust your butt. You don't work hard.
I done worked hard. I was mad. I was so mad. I was like, man, somebody could have called me or some shot me a text at time.
That's a life
I
lesson.
took care of.
That's a life
And
lesson.
and that was another blessing. I was like, man, God, thank you. I get to save this money that I worked hard for all my freshman. I get to save this. I get to do what I need to do. But that freshman year for me, that second semester was a wake-up call. And the crazy part is my major during that time was sports medicine. I was taking up a lot of biology class. I had all these night classes. And I realized, man, like, I just wasn't going to the lab.
It wasn't for you. It wasn't for you.
I'm like, man, that's why I'm feeling like I did okay, but that ain't the biggest reason I felt. The other big reason I was trying to fit in and not do what I'm supposed to do. I'm like, man, I was raised way better than this. So God woke me up, man, and I started back going to church and things like that with my teammates and stuff like that. And so I was like, man, I'm gonna go with my second option, which is, I want to get into coaching. I want to give back, So during that time, I changed my major to sports administration.
Right.
And so going into my sophomore year, this head coach get the job. We built a little bit of a relationship going in and things like that. I got my grades on top. I didn't have to worry about grades no more after that. After that freshman year,
But you was good. You was ready to go.
Gone, like back and forth in these stomping grounds. I had to look at my family like, I flunked out of school.
I let y'all
tell
down.
all the kids. I got to tell all the kids, man, I'm sorry. I let y'all down. So when God woke me up, I started thinking bigger than everything else. I started thinking he depended on me. This little
That's how you gotta
7th grade kid depended on me. He see this guy from Forest, Mississippi, playing on the college level. He may want to do that one day. So that changed a lot. So my sophomore year, it got a little better as far as like sports wise on the playing court. So I ended up playing the sophomore year a little bit, in and out, and then we had some issues with our team, guys leaving and transferring. So I played a lot my sophomore season, a whole lot. And so after that, going into my the start of that season, I missed that part. The start of the season, the coach, he comes to me and some of my freshman guys, specifically Coach Dawson, who used to coach in Morton with me, my classmate Gerald Dawson. He come to us. He had brought all these recruits in. Hey guys, what you guys thinking about red shirt? This is my sophomore season. We just made it to the NAIA National Tournament as a freshman, and I was the only freshman playing. And you come to me as a sophomore and said, what do I think about red shirt? In my mind, I'm like, I'm not staying here an extra year after my 4 years.
That's crazy.
That's what my mind went to.
Right.
And so, but as a kid, we just like, I guess, coach, you know what I mean? We just trying to be a part of something.
Right.
And so we lost a lot of kids, a lot of players, different reasons, and others were transferring out. And so he's at a point now where like, you gotta play this.
You got your butt to.
You ain't got a choice but to. And me and his relationship grew then, when I started working out. So at the end of that sophomore year, me and Coach Aiken, his name, we made a bet. So we had 6 a.m. workouts before class. So we had 6 a.m. workouts. He's like, hey, if you come to every workout, I got you something. Or it may have been like some, I can't really remember.
But he gonna reward you for coming.
Yeah, he gonna reward me for coming. I literally came every day, and then the last 3 days, I missed one day because I overslept. And I lost that bet. But even though I lost that bet, I still came back those
Right.
days. Because in my mind, I'm like, that was on me, boom, boom, boom. And I got to the point where I worked so hard and I did different things that other players can do on the team that he got to the point where he had to play me. I made it my business like, man, coach, coach gonna have to play me.
You gotta put me in,
I'm
coach.
gonna get to that point to where you're gonna have to play me. So same process as when I thought about my granddad as well. Like, wait your time. My first 2 years impatient in college, impatient.
Right.
Same thing junior year, took off, man. Had a great junior year, real great junior year. Made it to the NAIA tournament that year as well. I went from starting to 6 man. I was in and out the lineup because of various reasons, not because of me, because we wanted to do some things different with our team. But academically, everything was going perfect. Like I said, academic after that first year, it was like, academics was across the board.
We weren't going down that road again.
I wasn't going down that road again. All right, I thought about getting something back home. And so going into, after NI Junior, after we made that run into the NI tournament, we gets the news, Coach Aiken called. Said, Todd, they called me Todd, man. I wanted to tell you personally that I accepted another job.
Wow.
And I'm like,
once again, another coach.
I'm stoned. I'm like, wow, Coach gone. And we was like, we had just built that relationship, literally. Wow. You know, just built it. Like I can still, I talk to him to this day, man.
Wow.
I love Coach, man. I appreciate Coach. I talk to him to this day, but when he told me that, man, my mouth just like, wow, another coach.
You didn't know what to do at that point?
At that point, I didn't have a clue. I'm like, this should be 3 coaches in my 4 years at Bellhaven. And so I had some of our returning players were like, that was in my class, like, man, well, you gonna transfer, boom, boom, boom. You gonna do this, I make transfer. So in my mind, I looked at them. And during that moment of my life, I had to make a decision. Was this about basketball or was it about getting a degree? I had to make a decision. To where now it's a lot prevalent for people to just, let's transfer.
Right.
During that time, I didn't think about basketball. I thought about graduating with my degree.
Right.
I thought about graduating with my degree. And so going into that senior year, which is crazy, I missed this part. Remember at the beginning, I was telling my freshman year, I messed up so bad.
Right.
I changed my major. So I went to my advisor. His name was Dr. Barty, man. I still talk to him to this day. He's from Quitman, Mississippi. Went to him. He was like, Todd, you may have to take 18 to 21 hours while playing a sport in order for you to graduate on time. If not, you got to come back one more semester to take 2 courses. I looked at Dr. Barty, I said, no offense, Doc. I'm not coming back for another. It won't happen. I would take every possible hours that I can. I think the max was like 21 or something like that, because it's sports or whatever. I said I would take that. So I finished strong with that. Finished with a 3.2 with taking 21 hours.
Was determined.
And I was determined to get out of Bellhaven to when I was supposed to. But that all boils back to what I did that first year.
Right.
Around, got off track, it put me in a situation. So we don't, like even now, we don't sometimes think about how our actions affect us years on down the line.
Right.
That one moment right there where I lacked up and I slacked, it affected me 3 years later getting ready to graduate. And I had to pay the price, which was double up on classes to get up out of there.
We gotta instill it in our youth so they
Definitely,
understand.
man. And I try to preach it to them, man. Young people, the decisions you make now, you may not see the effect of it the next month or the next day, but years on
It's
down
coming.
the line, it's gonna come back.
Yeah, you gonna see.
You're gonna see it. So what I did my freshman year, it affected me to go harder my senior year. I have to work even harder. I have to work twice as hard. But if I would have handled my business my first year, my senior year would have been, it definitely would have been a breeze. And so, like I said, I had to make that decision. Was this about basketball or was it about me getting the education that coach left? And so my mom, like, well, I really don't want to try to go play after this overseas. I'm good. I had several injuries, battling injuries for several years.
Right.
And I was like, I'm gonna go get that piece of paper.
So
I'm gonna get that piece of paper.
So once Bellhaven, you graduated from there and everything. So what led you into your coaching career? I know you still had a love for the game of basketball. You said you didn't want to play overseas or anything. So is that what kind of led you into coaching, or how did that come about here at Forest High School?
What led me into coaching is honestly my granddad. Just by looking at him, and I'm like, man, if I can just be half of what he was as a coach, you know, I mean, even as a man, and also even like after that 9th grade year, freshman year in college, my sophomore year, we started running camps and stuff. We started doing behavior camps for kids and stuff like that. And I saw how like I was active with kids and how kids responded to me and how energetic I was and how, you know, I bring out the best in kids. This is me as a college student. Right. I had saved several video clips in my phone of me, you know, helping kids, you know, smaller kids while being in college. And I was like, man, this is something that I really want to do.
It's a great feeling.
It's a great feeling. And then the crazy part, that junior year, I came back home to a game. Coach Perry Fletcher was here at that time, and he was coaching, and he said, "Hey, what's going on, son? When you graduate?" So I was like, "Man, I got one more year." Not knowing that I had to double up.
Right.
It could have been a year and a half.
Right.
Say, I got one more year, coach, man. So I had me with my degree and stuff, and what I want to do. I said, man, I honestly want to get into coaching. So he looked at me and said, man, once you graduate, come back here. This job is yours. This job is yours. And to just hear that, man, from somebody that understood where I come from, which is here.
Right.
What I pride myself, which is far as, to hear somebody, he's from Morton, hear somebody from a different school, to see that in me, it was like, man, this is
your call.
This is my call. It's
your
another
call.
destined moment of my life. And so when I graduated, I shot Coach a text. I was like, Coach, hey, I think I want to come back home.
Right.
I'm going to come back home, help you out. And that ended up happening. I was his assistant for 1 year. And Coach, we actually made a state championship run that year.
Yeah, I remember that. I was actually going to school that year.
Yes, we actually ended up losing that year, my first year as an assistant. So it was some things that I didn't take care of myself personally, to as far as like teacher certification. You got to be able to have a teacher's license.
Yeah.
It's some stuff that I didn't take care of personally that I didn't have done. And so originally, after he left, he was expecting them just, give it to me.
Right.
And it don't work out like that, man. I mean, life don't work out like that. A lot of stuff you got to work for. So what happened was the job was really given to someone else. The guy just, didn't accept the job.
Right.
So during that time, he didn't take the job, and I just kept praying like when I figured out, he was hiring somebody else. I just gave the guy, man, like, look, man, God, it's in your hands. I'm gonna be here. If you want, let your will be done. If it's mine, it's meant to be. It's gonna be here. So God ended up taking it. So I get a text message on my birthday, July 2nd.
Birthday, man,
hey,
it's crazy.
The job is yours. And that kind of how I ended up coming about in this job, and how I actually got into like the coaching field. So that's my college life story when it comes to that.
And you've been here ever since. What year was that again?
I got here in 2015, 16, and then I actually got the job like 16, 17.
You've been going strong ever since.
Yeah, it's a long, and the toughest thing to do, man, is to coach back home.
Oh, yeah.
And people expect expectations from people.
Right.
And then it was hard coming back here because my granddad had won 2 championships. We just made it off a championship run. Been to the Coliseum several times, and we was going into like a rebuilding stage.
Right.
In that process. And so it's been kind of, people really don't understand, what FARS, well, people do understand what FARS used to be, but they also have to realize it's gonna get back to that point.
Yeah, it is.
It's gonna take time.
It's
gonna take time. So that's part of building.
Right.
You know what I mean? So as a kid, I grew up playing ball since I was in kindergarten, first grade.
It was always
and that's what I'm trying to bring back.
Oh, so you also have the youth program with the kids you have.
Yes. We just finished college and I'm going to like my career.
Okay.
So you can ask the question about starting my first year. Starting my
First coaching.
Yeah, let's go on like the coaching career.
How was your first year of coaching? Like, how was it?
It was a humbling experience, and the reason I say that is like I'm fresh out of college. All right, played at a pretty high level, and I'm thinking like, oh yeah, I know that, man. I can show these kids this, I can show these kids that. Man, they gonna do this, they gonna be doing this. I'm gonna have them doing that because I learned this, boom. And I realized quickly, man,
It's
work
harder.
like
It's harder than it seems.
It is harder than it seemed, man. And so my first year was real humbling for me, man. I had to get humbled, by other teams and other coaches, respectively. I needed it. And so I learned a lot from, people. I learned a lot from Coach Fletcher being out there for the year prior. A lot of guys like Coach Luckett, Coach Marcus Luckett. Learned a lot from here. Coach Dan Gray, you know, it was at Scottsdale during those times. And not really want to just leave any coaches, but a lot of coaches that was in this area kind of learned a lot from them. But it was definitely a humbling experience to understand, like, this job is a lot harder than what people think it is. You know, we have a lot of fans just think it's like, if roll out this ball, that's nothing.
No, it's not.
You know, it's a lot.
You can coach the team, you can coach the players, you can tell them exactly what to do, how you want it done, but it's up to that player to get out here and get the job done. You only can coach. That's all you can do.
That's all you can do, man. And like we you know, it's. And I understand sometimes fans' frustration, especially coming from here. You know, traditionally, you know, we have 2 state championships, we have several Coliseum appearances, several state championship appearances, and I understand, you know, where they're coming from, but they have to understand where we come from.
You gotta understand
Coaches,
your point of view as well.
You're not in practice every day with these kids. You know, you're not in the hallway with these kids.
Right.
You don't know what that kid done prior to why he's on the bench or why he's sitting down. So it was definitely a big learning process for me, and it also helped me understand that it was something that was missing. And I had to realize as years went on. Like I said, it's year 8, and so year 6 comes around, I'm just jumping ahead. And I'm like, man, something is missing. We're not growing like we're supposed to. We're not doing this. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I thought to myself, what did I do as a kid to get to the point that I'm at?
Right.
And I was like, man, I played ball since I was in kindergarten, 1st grade. I started little. I started in youth league. I started in city league.
You just a little small
I was just
child,
little. And it's been gone for, you know, it was gone
a long
for
time.
years.
A long time.
A long time. You know, and so I went to my admin and central office people. I was like, well, we gotta, in order to get back to where we were, we have to start here.
Right.
We can't start 7th grade.
Right.
You know, we have to start kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and this is going into year 2 that I've started at Youth Bearcat League. And 1st year we had like 110 kids.
Wow.
We had 130 kids this year. We had 130 kids, and that's where the growth come in at, you know. And what we have to understand is this is not a 1 and 2 year project. You're talking about years. You know, I was playing since kindergarten. So if I'm playing from kindergarten to 6th grade, it's, you know, that's years.
Right. It is
years,
long
you know,
time.
It's a long time.
Yeah, long time.
So this is year 2 that I've had it back, man, and it's been a big blessing, not only like to the kids but to the community.
Right.
And what I wanted to do with that is give these kids something that I had.
Right.
You know, give these kids something that I did have. So, and that was the main goal of bringing that. And then also to help build a program and also to help bring community people in. Together. So that's what I had, the community people come in and coach. I had alumni coming in. And that's how you build a tradition. That's how you build it back where it needs to be. You have to remember where you started from and take bits and pieces and then just tweak it to the generation that we in. You know, so that's one thing that I did do to kind of, okay, this is, because I'm from here, so I'm going to take a lot of pride in this.
Right.
Because this same gym that, you know, my players, I tell them, this same gym you guys played in, I played in the same gym. So it can be done.
Yeah.
You can go to college and play basketball.
I did.
You know,
I did, like
well.
I said.
We've
well,
had.
not I, but
Yeah, we had greats before me. Greg Carter from Forest, Mississippi, went to Mississippi State, man. To this day, me and him sort of keep in contact here and there. So it can be done. You know, this generation just had to see it, and they really just have to believe and understand it's not going to be given to you.
Oh no,
You know,
nothing's ever gonna be given to you. Everything in life is earned.
Nothing is going to be given to you. So the things that I've embedded in myself, I try to give out to these kids. I have to pour it out. Even if it may go in one ear and out the other,
right?
You have to still embed it in them, because you never know. It may, out of 10 kids, one kid may just be like, I'm listening. I got you, coach.
I'm listening.
I got you, coach. You still have to do it. It gets hard sometimes, but you still have to realize I was a kid once. So
yeah, we was all in that position.
We was all hard-headed at some point in time. So that's kind of how I got into coaching, and my mindset is going forward. You know, that's kind of what it is and what I do.
And And one thing I want to say to mention to the people who watching and the kids who watching, if y'all see that he can do it, you can do it. If one person can do it, everybody can do it, man. There's like nothing that one person can do that the other person can't do. If you can do anything you put your mind to, man, you just gotta stay focused. You gotta commit to it, be consistent. What you say, dedication, be dedicated.
Discipline, man.
You gotta have that discipline. You gotta have discipline for sure.
You gotta have discipline.
Got to, man.
Even not just in sports, your personal life, man.
Everything, man.
You just gotta be disciplined, man. You gotta be disciplined. And to my people, a lot of y'all don't even. This is the first time I'm telling this story.
Uh-oh.
He got exclusives, man. My family didn't get some of these exclusives.
I just told him he can have a phone call after this.
I mean that's big. Like people probably just thought I had it just easy. Like all right, I had it rougher than you think. Growing up in the house with girls, all girls. I'm the only boy. Almost flunking out of college. You know, just different things that could have happened, man.
Right.
And God had other things in mind. You know, he had other things in mind. He had a different vision than what I had.
Right.
You know, he had a bigger vision. He did. And now I understand why my grandma kept me in church so much. You know, she'll wake up, hey, it's Sunday, go to church.
It's time to get up. It's time to get up.
I'm a kid.
A kid. I don't want to go.
I
don't want to go.
I don't want to go. And now I realize why she would do it so much. You know, as people say, train up a child as you wanted to go, and as they get old, they will never depart from you. And so that kind of like, that's just, she trained me, she raised me. And for people, women can raise a man.
They can. They can.
Most
Most definitely.
A woman can definitely does it. I had a grandma who was older, man. That's crazy. You know,
Nothing like grandma, man.
Nothing like
grandma,
nothing.
man. Nothing.
It's nothing like grandma. Grandma will raise you differently from anybody else.
Very differently.
And she would definitely punish you.
Oh yeah, most
If
definitely. She
need-
believe in the old school.
Old school.
She old school.
Old school come up to, and I'm coming up to the school, you get in trouble. I ain't want that.
Finna embarrass you.
I did not want that. So like honestly, that's definitely. And then just for people who don't know, man, like you said before, if you do anything, man, you put your mind to it, you have a discipline, you have a dedication. You know, it's not about how you fall and when you fall, it's about how you get up and how you respond. That's what it's about. There was several times in my life I could have just easily just said, I'm done. You know. But like I said, I knew I had a bigger, not myself, but God, honestly, he had something bigger for me.
Right.
And I had to realize, man, I can't let this second grade kid down.
They looking up to you.
This fourth grade kid down.
They're looking up to you.
I had to think about the bigger picture rather than just myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can't let my aunt down, like, you know, and that's how it was. That's why I never told them I was almost academically ill. They probably killed me. Like.
They know now.
they definitely know now, but I got that piece of paper, so
It's all that matters. He
that
graduated, you know, he's doing well for himself now, you know, he's successful doing what he's doing. So it's all that matters, family. Don't bash, don't.
It's over. Y'all can't do nothing now. I'm an adult. You can't go back. You can't take it back.
No, it can't change.
You can't take it back. You cannot take it back, man, at all. And yeah, that's pretty much, man. Everybody kind of had a hand in raising me as well. I lived with all my aunts. I mentioned my junior year. No, going into my freshman year, I lived with an aunt. Her name is Yolanda Jackson. As soon as I got to college, I moved with her. My last year of college, I moved with my aunt on Pinkston in Richmond. I was off campus then. So it's like, I was like a kid at a family barbecue where you pat her. It's time for you to hold this child, hold that child. That was me. That was me as a college and a high school music gonna move it around. Hey, grandma, I got you for this time. Hey, your daughter, Aunt Wanda, here you go. We got you for this time. Aunt Yolanda, here you go. Aunt Nene, here you go. All four of y'all aunts, y'all got it. It's like I was passing around, but I really do appreciate all those people, man.
You gotta be thankful.
All
man.
those people.
Thankful for the blessing.
There was a lot more people than that kind of helped me out throughout this journey. I can't really name them all, man, because there's so many, man. But
really do appreciate them. I just didn't want to go to just name it because I name I forget.
Right.
But I forget somebody, I don't want nobody to feel offended. But everybody that did help me to get to like the point I am now, man, I really do appreciate you, man. I'm grateful for it, and I wouldn't be where I am today. You know, first off without God, second off without y'all, but mainly, man, to my grandma, I wouldn't be here. You know, you could have easily carried us on to a foster care, you know, at 6 months old. And also, man, I had the thought process of in that car accident, you know, even now, my mind said, man, I'm not supposed to be here. You know, I could have been in that car. I could have been my brother in that car accident, man. That could have been me. He could be right here, you know. So you have those thought processes, man. I know I do personally, man. Like,
I do too
my
as
brother
well.
didn't get a chance to even live his life. You know, he's a year and a half old, 2 years old.
Wow.
He dies. You know, I never had a big brother, you know, as far as on my mom's side. So it's like, man, that could have been me, you know. But God had other plans for me as well, which is, you know, that's what I think about now, man. I shouldn't be here. I should have flunked out of college. You know, I could have been in the streets.
But you're not, though.
I could have been in a car, had a wreck, but I'm not. And you know, it just shows you how great God is, to how my whole story played out from, you know, 6 months old to where I am now. To where I am now, and everything makes sense. Everything. It was no coincidence that all this.
It didn't make sense at the
to-
time, but
Yep.
now you see, you go
Now
back
it
and you
does.
think about it, you know how
It
everything,
does.
you see
It played
everything.
out. Granddaddy coached here, won a championship here. Now I'm here. You know, I won with him. So it's like, when you think about it, it's like, man, it was destined. You know, there was a moment. You know, the guy ordained and wanted to happen.
Yeah, it was written for you. It was made for you. Like, it was just a part of your life story for you to be here.
For me to be here, that 6 months with my grandma. You know, I don't even know I was doing the wreck. I don't know what I was.
I was gonna ask you that, but like I didn't know if you
I
even
don't
remember.
I don't know where I was, man. I don't know. I just know I was grandma on I was somebody. I
Yeah,
wasn't
you
in the
wasn't
car.
there. Yeah.
I was not there in the car. Like I said, that could have been me.
Right.
You know, I couldn't be standing before you guys telling you my story when I could have been the one in that car. My brother could be here telling his story. It could be me. So it's just how God works, man, how He operates. That's part of my story that I like to share with you guys. Well, I'm glad I shared with you guys. Like I said, there's some stuff in here that my family didn't even know. They didn't know at all. They have a clue. So that when they watch this, man, I just hope it not just inspire them, but inspire younger kids, older kids to let them know, man. Like, when you look at somebody, you may think their life was overly great. They had it made.
Hey.
Nah, I went from a dining room, which is a bed in the dining room, to sharing rooms my whole life, to where I am now, which is, you know, my own place. So it's a blessing, man. Starting from, like I said, I always had something. I never had nothing, so don't get me wrong. But starting from in a house full of girls and a bed in a dining room. That's it's a dining room, it's a bed, it's a computer. So I really want a dining room no more. To sharing rooms consistently to, you know, having my own. So life was not easy for me, man. It was really tough, but me being raised how I was helped me through all the adversities and all the obstacles, anything that came my way. I always had to revert back to remember, like, man, my grandma raised me this way. You know, she raised me to get the job done. And I had to go back and think, like, if this woman can work at Raytheon, which is what she was working at, raise her kids and 6 grandkids.
Wow.
I can go to school and get
Yeah,
a
you
degree.
can get it done. Yeah, most
I
definitely.
can
You
get
should
it
be able to
done.
get it done.
I have no excuses.
None.
She lost 2 kids and a grandson in one day, and I can't go to school and get this done. It can get done.
That's motivation right there, man.
So that's part of a lot of motivation that I live with, man, and she was a big part of my story. And I also think sometimes, like, man, would my story be the same if my mom was here? Would it be the same? Would I have been raised this way? Would I have been raised this way? So a lot of those thoughts
That's a
come
lot
out
to
my
think
head.
about.
A lot to think about when it comes to, like, your life. You know what I mean? So if, man, my mom was here, would I be?
sitting next to you. Will I be sitting right to you?
Right.
So that's a lot to think about, but I'm still blessed and fortunate. I'm like, man, everything happened for a reason, man. You know, I know, hopefully, you know, my mom is proud of what I have accomplished, everything I've been through, and what she done. I never got a chance to meet her. You know, I'm 6 months old.
You don't remember anything.
I can only remember. I can only know stories what people tell. But actually knowing, I don't. You know, I don't know. You know, so my grandma was that physical presence of my mom. So that's part of my story, guys. That I wanted you guys to hear and understand.
First question is, who would you say was your role model coming up growing up?
Ooh, that's a tough question, man. That's a tough question. But honestly, man, I would say I would say my uncle.
Your uncle.
Todd. And the reason being, which is two, I'll say Todd and my grandpa, but more so Todd just because of the relationship I had, it was a little better. And the reason being is because like he made it out. You know, he played here, won back-to-back state championships football, and then pursued college, and then he went on to the NFL. So in my mind, I'm like, man, you can really go places.
You can leave. You can get out of here.
Out of Forest,
you can make it out of here.
You can make it out of Forest, Mississippi, man. And that's one thing I really want the kids to understand, man. You can make it out of Forest, man. You can. I promise you. You can. So he was one of my big time role models. Even though that's my, it's just like it just clicked. Like when he went to the NFL, I made NFL games as a kid. You know.
Wow.
Me and my family. You know, everybody, all of us, grandpa, all of us had games, and I'm like, man, you can really make it big out of small town Forest. You know, you can make it. It can be done. It can happen. It's possible. You know, and that he was one of my biggest role models for sure.
So his answer was Coach Ty. Well, Ty Pinkston. I said Coach Ty, but yeah, he is a coach. Yeah, he's a coach now.
He is a coach.
So I said it right. Yeah,
he is a coach. He's with the Kansas
City Chiefs, NFL coach.
And now he's coaching in the NFL, man. That's big time for Forrest too. Not only, you know, playing, he's coaching at the highest level, man. Anything is possible, man. It can be done.
We're gonna get him on here. He's gonna make sure that we're gonna get him on here so we can interview him as well, get him on the podcast. Question number 2: what's your biggest fear, if you don't mind sharing with us?
Man, honestly, my biggest fear, man, is failure.
Oh man, you
That's my
too
big,
well.
I don't like failure. You know, not only just for myself, man, but just for people just counting on me. You know, I don't like failure, and I like to fix that problem when it comes to failure.
Right.
So I think that's my biggest fear more than anything, man. Is failure.
You just don't want to fail.
I just don't. You're gonna fail. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I failed, as y'all seen in my story. I failed many a times, you know. But me having that fear gives me that extra motivation. Like, man, I can't fail. So I think failure is probably my biggest fear.
Failure is also the process of success. You have to fail. You have to fail. If you don't fail, you don't know what it's like to lose. You don't know what it's like to be down. You don't know, like I said. So you got to fail in order to get to where you're trying to go. So what inspires you? Well, I look at you as a community leader. So basically, I want to ask you, my question number 3 is, what inspires you to become a community leader?
My godmother, Miss Constance Slaughter-Harvey. I mentioned her earlier. One day, we had a real heart-to-heart conversation, and I went over to her office, and we just got to talking. And this was my second year coach, third year coach. She's like, "Why are you doing this?" And I never understood. It's like, "Why am I doing what?" It's like, "Why are you coaching?" I said, I love to do it. I love to coach and this and that. And she was like, "But that's not serving a purpose." I'm like, "What you mean?" She said, "You have to give back."
So you got to
give back.
Yeah, I got you.
It took my godmother to tell me that I have to give back. I have to understand that me coaching wasn't about me.
Right.
It was about giving back to kids and different people, because it was people giving back to me. And she made me realize that coaching was much more bigger than X's and O's and trying to tell kids what to do on the court. You know, she was like, "Look, you have to give back. Free or not, you have to give your time back. Kids have to see you consistently. They have to know you care. Not just your players. Younger kids have to know."
and she really inspired me, and I never understood that until now. I actually started giving back and doing different things. It's like that. She said that's your biggest blessing that you're gonna get by giving back to people and not asking for a dime. You know, I've done it. I worked out kids, and I tell parents I can't charge you. I'm doing this out of kindness of my heart. You know, so she inspired me on that. You have to give back to your community. You have to. You know, and so if not anything else, I mean, kids will always remember.
Oh, they gonna remember most definitely. They always gonna remember.
You know, and that's what I wanted more than anything. Yes, I do want to bring a championship back home, but if that don't happen, what are you gonna be remembered for?
Right.
You know, you want to just be remembered for the coaches that walk in and he just got a job, he just here, or you don't want to be remembered for giving back to your community, giving back to your kids to make a difference. So she definitely inspired me in the biggest way possible.
Even when I was with you and you was my coach for the year I played basketball, which didn't last long because I was a football player, but I came to basketball, you know, just because trying something different, being different, whatever. But like I said, one thing that stuck with me, what he used to always tell us, to tell the team, is discipline, man, discipline. And when he said that, like, even today, I still live by that, discipline. So it's like, with him saying, like, if you know, give back to the youth and, you know, you give them guidance, you also, you know, be that figure for them or whatever, you know, they going to always remember that. And I would never forget that, you know, that he instilled into all of us is discipline.
Appreciate it.
Do you feel like you're making a difference as far as like the community and the kids' life with what you are doing?
Sometimes it's kind of hard because you want instant results.
Right.
You know, sometimes you, boom. I feel like I am. In my 8 years here, I've done a lot of community service hours. Like I said, started the league back that was gone for years.
That's already a difference.
Brought a camp back. You know, brought our first actual Roy Pinkston camp a couple of years ago. You know, camp. You know, bringing that back. Just doing a lot of different things, man. That fans and people don't see.
Right.
You know, a few times I walk over to the classroom at the elementary to, you know, some of the kids that play in my league, just go, hey, make sure they're good. Are you good?
Right.
I'm making sure. So I feel like my difference is not based off, my difference is really not based off, you know, what the people feel and think.
Right.
You know, because my job is not to build for these adults.
Right.
My difference is not for adults.
You focus on the youth
My
and the kids.
difference is
giving
for
back to
these
them.
kids, man. Giving back to them, and a lot, man. It's a lot of kids that know my name, and I can walk over like coach, you know. And once you start hearing those things, like I don't work at the elementary, I work at the high school, but quite a few of those elementary kids know who I am, and so I feel like it is, and I'm not. I don't base it off the adults.
Right.
Now how they feel is fine, but it's based off the kids, man. Just to see the joy when you walk up to them.
It's different with kids, man.
It's different.
It's way different.
It's completely different when you see that joy from the kids, man. So my honest opinion, I feel like in my 8-year run, I've done a lot of stuff to bring light to this, back to this small town.
Most definitely have.
I definitely do feel myself. I've made a difference in my 8 years.